I'm not here to play small. I'm not here to blend in. I'm not here to survive the system. I'm here to build a new one. I've lived in the fire, on the court, in the culture, in the mirror. And the truth I found is this. The battle is not your enemy. The battle is your becoming. I've battled opponents. I've battled myself. I've battled expectations, isolation, and evolution. And through it all, I discovered greatness is not an outcome. It's a decision made daily, in silence, in sweat, in service. Love the battle isn't a phrase. It's a frequency, a discipline. It's discipline. It's purpose. It's reflection. It's learning how to transform the hard things into holy things. I believe in process. I believe in truth. I believe in alignment, the harmony of thought, energy, and action. And I believe your story matters more than your stats. My mission is simple, to help you become the best version of your true and authentic self.
Welcome to the first episode of Love the Battle. I'm Shane Garner.
Last year's state champion, Shane Garner, getting the chance to become a back-to-back title holder.
I'm here with the man who started this whole thing, coach, mentor, and friend, Pete.
We want to be culture accelerators, if you will. All right, let's go, partner. It's really a great opportunity to create a new paradigm for health and wellness. It's almost enriching beyond words.
We're super excited to get started with this concept. It's long overdue, and I'm excited to actually be getting started.
We both wanted to do not just to talk about tennis and sports, but kind of the mindset that shapes who people are as individuals. So, you know, as an athlete, a person, and a human being, Love the Battle is really about that process in becoming your best and most authentic self. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, it originates like this. I mean, I've been on the court a lot with a lot of different people. 75,000 an hour and thousands of students and stuff. And what kind of game do they call tennis?
Mental sport.
Yeah, they call it a mental game. Like, so, what should we focus on? You know what I mean? It tells you. It's the beginning of the game is it's a mental game.
Yep.
But we're always practicing technique and strokes and getting competitive and all those kinds of things. But really, the truth is like how your mind works and how you handle things, and that whole process that we watch on TV is constructed. Their routines, their everything is specific and particular, and it's been touched and worked on to look so easy and automatic and natural.
Yep.
Sort of thing. So, in that process, as you know, and as we both know, it's a very challenging process. I don't think anyone realizes like these professional tennis players. I mean, you have to be a professional eater, professional rester, a professional mover, a professional everything all the time.
Yep.
It's ridiculous kind of thing. So the love the battle concept just came from the fact that it's going to be tough. And there's going to be good days and bad days, and there's going to be all those things. But the bottom line that you can count on is it's going to be tough to do everything you have to do all the time. And it's sort of as you get into tennis, it's more relentless and more discipline and more relentless sort of consistency that you can do, the better. And then you're literally competitively competing in everything with all the other people. It's an impossible task, and people wonder why they get frustrated. And you just need to fall in love with the battle of becoming the best version of yourself, and it takes time. It really, it's a slow, laborious process of, daily routines, daily plans, and if you have the spirit and the thinking that you're loving it, it doesn't matter if there's a setback. It doesn't matter if there's a problem. It doesn't matter. It just becomes like, okay, and you just collect it into your next thing. And your ability to build your own concepts, your own version of this is what it really comes down to, because we're each in this for ourselves, and then it's for everyone else. So if you can, if the world is full of people that has themselves worked out, those individuals are much more able to help the community and the rest of the world as well. But it's a weird sort of thing in tennis. You have to become this, you're like a hungry savage when you get inside the fence. But then when you come outside the fence, like the hungry savage doesn't work, in the household or with the kids or with the dog. Like you gotta be able to Jekyll and hide yourself on purpose, sort of thing, day in and day out. And you and I both know that's difficult, because sometimes you got to bring more energy to the tennis, and sometimes you got to bring, more comfortable energy to life, sort of thing. And it's all these mindsets and pathways for becoming that best version of yourself that you're really perfecting day in and day out.
No, totally agree. So we'll start from the beginning with you. You have over 75,000 hours on court. Just tell us about that. How it all started.
I didn't know this was gonna turn out this way and go like this, but tennis has been it's so interesting. Like, I mean, I've done all that, and in some ways, it just keeps being interesting. Working with people, helping people become the best they can. It's still, it interests personally for me to do it for myself. And then it's all the work I've done on myself. It's fun to share that information with everyone else. And really, I just like to share it on a larger basis. I mean, you're in my place. You can see I'm living in a mind lab. Do you know what I mean? I'm living what I'm telling you about. Like, I mean, I'm working out, I'm doing all the things. I'm eating nearly perfectly. I'm working out very well. And I just, I'm living this process that I'm teaching. I'm loving the battle of becoming the best. I think you have to do that until your last breath. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think I'm much more believable and much better coach when I'm doing what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
And for the longest, I competed early, and I'm like everyone else. I did it. I wanted to beat people. I wanted the results. I wanted the things on the other side of the net. I did it for trophies. You know, all the normal things that one does until they realize, like, that's not how you become your best. You become your best by figuring out how you hit each shot perfectly or as well as you can every time, one shot at a time, and that constant undivided now, yep. Which is hard. Like nobody really realizes the work that goes into one great shot at a time, because being present in the moment and executing is really what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that loving the battle, really, everyone has trouble getting there. So whether it be your focus, your concentration, your fitness, any number of excuses, reasons, problems, challenges, we all deal with. And all of us have to deal with those things one by one. That'll be another subject that we touch one day. I mean, I can just show you, like, you know, in the pathway to becoming, it's like Thomas Train. Like, you just figure, like, which ways do I need to go? And you keep adjusting your game, and you have to make sure you realize, like, at the train house, what's that place called when they, you know, the train station,
yeah.
They have the turning thing which goes to different places. Like, it may be going north by northwest today, it may be going south by southeast tomorrow, and you have to be flexible enough and loving the battle enough to kind of deal with that, because I don't want to go that way. I don't want to play this way. I don't want to do that. I don't like doing that. Like, you play tennis, I play tennis. The person on the other side of the net, his whole job is to make it uncomfortable for you. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is thinking mean things and doing mean, and they don't, you know, and they're hating you for beating them. Mm-hmm. You know, and you get deep into that. Like, this, I don't know about you, but, like, I've been through phases. Like, one incarnation is I had to hate my opponent. Mm-hmm. Another carnation is you have to ridicule you. Another, you don't even look at your opponent. Another, you know, you got to figure out what works best for you. Yeah, you know, because sometimes getting angry is necessary. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, like, kind of, so, you know, basically that's how it evolves, and that's where it comes from. It's just this process of becoming the best version requires mindsets and ways of being at all times to stay on course.
Definitely.
Sort of thing. And I believe Love the Battle really encompasses it about as well as anything I've ever come across. Mm-hmm. So that's why. And plus, I got a cool Phoenix logo that represents the, you know, rising up out of nothing, and it keeps the story of the Phoenix is a great one for manifesting and using what you've come from. You know, it's really a cool sort of, and the logo turned out well, and the combination of the words and what they represent, and the Phoenix, it's just really, I really am very pleased with how the concept is turned into this, and seems very even more real than it ever has.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. Just touching on, I find it interesting. I like the talking about how to view your opponent. Just because for me, I'm kind of the same way, where there's different segments. A lot of times when you play a lot, you're playing the same people over and over, and you know these people, so it's tough to, you know, get in that mindset of, you know, I'm friendly with this person, I know this person, to, you know, playing against them. And for me, it got to the point where, like, I struggled with, obviously I get annoyed, frustrated with an opponent, but I was never to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to hate this person, right? For me, I had to switch my mindset almost to play the ball. You know, I'm playing against the ball. And that was big for me, and so it's interesting to hear a different perspective, because I know a lot of people in every sport, when they go against someone, it's kind of like an aggressive thing for me, which I struggled with for some reason. You know, so for me, it was switching a mindset completely. You know, to play the ball. You know, I'm trying to play the ball. I'm not trying to play this, because also I feel like I got into my head quite a bit about who I was playing, and I got to sometimes it gets to an unhealthy thing where it's just it's dampening your level and everything, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I losing to this guy? And stuff like that. And
yes.
So for me, switching it to, and I still struggle with it. It's all those things that like little thoughts come into your head while you're on the court. I mean, it's one of the most lonely sports. You know, you're out there by yourself, and so it's just every day trying to, I'm playing the ball, and then doing that in practice as well. You know, your opponent is whatever the next shot they give you. You know, so that's kind of how I switched my mindset and everything.
When I met this guy, he was not talking like that. So, this is the process. But really, you've nailed it. You've nailed it is what it really comes down to when you start getting on the other side of this battle and starting to, be with the battle and enjoying the battle and stuff. You start to realize that presence, all that you're in control of is what you're in control of in the now. Mm-hmm. So what that equates to in tennis is one shot at a time.
Yeah.
Literally, like all you need to worry about is the next ball and the shot you're hitting, and kind of. I found, I worked with a great friend of mine, James Hollingsworth, that taught me how to think and helped me build this. And it took this whole time for coaching. I was building my own ability and my own game simultaneously, and it always helped me be a better coach and a better player, because I coached for 15 years and then played again, and in my late 30s I was maybe better than I've ever been. Mm-hmm. from the experience of coaching. I mean, the coaching is the best way to learn about anything. If you have to teach somebody, sort of thing. So I believe that you found it. Like, it's not really, these matches aren't between two people like we watch it like two gladiators. It's since Rome, these guys are going to get, I'm picking that guy, I like that guy, it's that, we like that. I mean, but ultimately the people that are in there are making moves and counter moves and everything they've practiced to get there. They're not really looking, they're not really having a close relationship. They're busy doing their things and cueing off the movements and the hips and the, it's not quite as, it's completely personal, but you're separate. You're separately personal, if you will. And like you said, it's lonely. I mean, I'm an only child, so it's not a big deal for me. Like, I'm used to slipping into my own world.
Yeah.
And kind of tennis is like, you got to have your own world that you can slip into, and you can watch the pros, like, the routine, everything's a routine. Everything's it's all built, sort of thing. And that's really the golf, like the level of perfection and authenticity of excellence in professional athletes these days is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys, what has happened with athletics over the past decade is ridiculous. Everyone is so good. The level is so, you have to be so on it. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to evolve. It's got to be scary to be entering into that. I have students and I want to teach them so much, and we only have these small amounts of time. That's why I'm looking forward to encompassing this information, chunking it down and simplifying it, but keeping it beefy as best as possible. In a more mainstream type usable way. I think that ultimately is what you're working for, but I think you can't substitute failures and what you learn from competing and when it happens to you. Those lessons are the ones that you really, that's the thing about tennis, is it's going to be public, and everyone's going to know, and there's nowhere to hide, sort of thing. So I mean, that's really what tennis, there's no team, there's nobody coming in for you, there's no end, and there's, ultimately, if you don't find some resourcefulness, resilient, whatever words you want to call them, like, there's no one going to do it for you. So it's loving. It's just committing to that, loving the battle. Really, the real battle is who lives the longest, healthiest, most prosperous life is the real battle we're in. When we have the opportunity to spend a lifetime in a sport, and in the medium of tennis for us, the platform of tennis, it pulls it out of you. But it's still, whatever you're doing, whether it's work based, athletics based, you spend time being great at that. But then there's family. It's always multiple versions of your best. Yeah. And that, ultimately you're loving the battle until you're done, because it's going to be, you have parents, I have parents, grandparents, like they're battling. Life gets to be a battle just to live, sort of thing. So I'm pretty convinced that it's going to be a battle. That's what I can tell you after 75,000 hours on the court is it's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
So you might as well find a way to love it. And I find that I see that the people are really truly kind of enjoying the process and the battle and the day in and day out. Those are the ones that scare me. Because those guys, like, they know what they're in for, they know what they're doing, and they're still gladly doing it and showing up and being a high level at all the time.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Definitely.
So, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think the separation from everything into that kind of flow state, or it's called many different things, but it's that place where you're connected to yourself and the situation enough to where you can bring out your best. That's where the fun is, and it's very fleeting to be in it, sort of thing, and then to be able to maintain it and get back to it. That's the whole. You keep giving yourself breadcrumb trails back to that place, because eventually you can put yourself in there. You can get into your best state of playing. You can get to that place, and you can get out of that place, but then get back to it as you keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
And that comes with visualization. That comes with being able to create the logics for manifestation proactively. So you're thinking your way into what you want to happen. It really does work, especially at athletics. You can believe your way and think your way and practice your way into things in a way where you never really, you hoped, you wanted, you wished, it ends up being like more, embodying those things and belief, trust, knowing, rather than fear, worry, doubt. And it's always that battle of, fear, worry, doubt, and belief, trust, knowing, and you can't hide from these guys. And you like these guys, but they're always going to be present. You just have to give your energy to those things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's interesting. The flow state too is kind of a bit of a funky topic that you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole, because a lot of books, a lot of articles talk about the flow state and finding it. It's a huge thing in athletics. Obviously, I think that's one of the biggest places it's mentioned. But I think it's also the same thing as in why do people look for that flow state after it happens? Someone goes into a flow state, I was playing amazing, I couldn't miss, I was feeling every ball amazing. Same thing in every sport, and it's like after you get that flow state, you're always kind of, like you said, looking for it again, right? And it's always a kind of trying to find that again. And it's interesting because I've seen and heard it's the same exact thing in other aspects of life. When people decide to bungee jump or skydive, they're looking for that kind of adrenaline junkie experience that puts you so present that everything else kind of fades away. You have no worries, you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're there. And so that's kind of how to define the flow state, is being fully present and there and locked in.
Correct.
Thing. So I think it's interesting too, is trying to find that, and this is all over. And I can't imagine this is an easy process, this probably takes years and stuff, but finding that flow state consistently throughout your life, and trying to live each day presently in that kind of state of flowing.
I think that's the real thing you learn as you keep getting older is like there's more to life than just sports sort of thing, and yes, it crosses over, and becoming the best person, the best mate, the best father, the best friend, the best, that all has to do with that presence and that ability to be connected to the now and clear with your own thoughts and feelings and emotions, and it's really, becoming the best and maintaining it is more than just one thing. So it ends up sprinkling throughout everything. There's and you got to be careful with your special sauce. Like you can't use it too much. You can't. There's a limited amount of special sauce or flow state that until there's not. Sort of thing. So tapping into the power of the universe, sort of thing, is it's doable. And it's repeatable, but it only comes from true and honest clarities of yourself, and that you embody what you want, so that it'll come back to you more than you go get it. So part of this love in the battle, sometimes it's surrendering to win, perhaps. You kind of you might have to lie, cheat, and steal for the present you want. Because your mind, it'll do its own thing sometimes, and those loops that are going on in your head are what you're programming. Those thoughts. I like to call it there's a choir in your head of voices. There's so many voices in my head. Which one do I listen to? And that's a true fact. Like you gotta escort that guy out. That guy in C13, get him out of here. You have to excommunicate some of these voices, and then you got to turn the ones up that you want, and you got to, and then sometimes you feel like you're lying. You're like, that's just some BS. I don't believe that. I don't believe but you keep working your way into it, or find the words that help the thoughts come, and that's really what it's about. Because the more you find out how to bring out your own greatness, the more you can share and help and show your kids those ways to their best, and have them thinking about that, and kind of your best doesn't come from putting other people down. Your best comes out of everyone getting better and helping everyone get better to see who's the best, and you keep learning and growing and pushing each other as well as yourself. That's what we're more of it shouldn't be like, I'm better than you, even though that's the world we live in. Like winners, it's definitely about winning if I'm paying attention to what the world says. But it's definitely about becoming the best version of myself, even more than that, because I've done a lot of failing, and I've done a lot of learning from that failing, and I've done a lot of winning, and I've done some learning from that winning, but it's definitely the failure. It's definitely the reflecting and the failing and the not liking it and the not wanting it that would motivate me much more than the success. Sort of thing.
Definitely. So I love the idea that the battle is not always what people think. They think of something physical, whether that be going through a tough weight room exercise or actually, being in a war scenario, going to the military, something, but a lot of times it's not talking about the internal, right? The internal battles you face, that everyone faces worldwide. And it's kind of that thing that you're not, for us, tennis wise, you're not battling an opponent. A lot of that is yourself. You're battling yourself. You're preparing for that match the best way that you can, internally. Right, so that you can handle your opponent is kind of the way I think about it. So, like for me, I fractured my back my freshman year of college. Going into college, super stoked to play. Right, I had actually taken a break and got into tennis again, as you know. Started picking it up, and it was kind of like, oh, now I really want to do this, and now I that's my goal, to go to college. And I ended up getting a great opportunity and getting to play. And as I get there, a few weeks in, I actually end up fracturing my back, and I'm out for that year. And I ended up having to leave that school actually as well. So, stuff like that happens, and everyone sees the external, right? There's that external injury, but really there was also that internal growth that happened a ton during that process for me. And I think it's those scenarios that happen like that with injury and stuff like that, where that something like that happens, and it actually ends up being a beneficial thing, like a huge stepping stone. So if we could talk about, there's a lot of ideas about the hardest thing or the obstacle being the way, in this process. It's the way is through the brush, the difficult parts. So if I could get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a good job, man. That's and I usually I have a saying too that's just like that the magic that you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding, sort of thing. So there's more to this story here. This is a great story of a guy who didn't necessarily want to play tennis, that had to play, had an older brother that was very into it, and et cetera, et cetera. But just a great story of like, oh, I do like tennis, and I can play my version of tennis, and I really want to. So it's really a fun growth and story. And then even through this problem, he still came out of it wanting to play and enjoying it and getting better. So it's really, I'm proud of you. Like, it was good. It was fun to be involved with your journey, and just how it went was just such a cool story of, how you won state and then got the like, it's just really cool. Like, I'm so proud of you. And you're right on the back. Like, we could look at my text. I might have said like, somehow this is going to be a good thing, even though when I was texting, I was going like, God, like, I don't know, but trying to maintain that positive role. And I've also had some injuries that have really been, seem like the worst possible thing. But, when you have to confront that reality and then you have no choice but to get better, like, you understand at a much deeper level, and you come out of it much stronger to fight that fight against and with and for yourself. When you have real, that's real problem. When your back is broken, when walking is your workout, that's a whole new thing, isn't it? Like, I'm fused at 4 and 5, and you're a little bit worried about, like, I could die. I could be paralyzed. These things go through your head, like, while you're trying to keep this positive version of it's going to be all right, kind of thing. It's there we are in the battle again on our surgeries. But then after that, am I going to be, like, it's just so much doubt, sort of thing. And kind of, when you have that kind of thing, it makes you do the things you're avoiding. It makes you attack the obstacle. You don't have a choice, sort of thing. So, in some ways, we're fortunate to have those things happen to us, because there's no way to not learn something. In people that don't have problems and avoid failure and stuff, it's just, I know success is imminent for me, because there's so much failure I've gone through, and I continue to go through and push forward and work, and doing this whole thing is scary, but I must. Like, I have so much information to share with the world, and I want to. So that it's all about the routines and the daily response that you have, and you figure out for overcoming these obstacles and becoming the best you can, whether that be rest, diet, schedule, and then if you're an athlete, it gets into the details of the schedule. And it's just every day figuring out what's the best way for you to become the best
to achieve what you must in whatever the time frame is. And then it becomes a competition of who's best and fastest and who uses the time better and who is, it's the proactively compounding, if you will, like building, because you're just playing other guys. The better you get, the more everyone's doing like as much or more as you. And then it has to be who's doing it best. And then we start to see who's building belief. It really ends up being who is in the realm of believing them in themselves and trusting themselves, and then ultimately knowing that they're going. It's the most scary thing is to play someone who believes. You know what I mean? Or the best thing to do is believe and play people. I mean, I've been on both ends of the scale and kind of, there's nothing more powerful than preparing to believe in yourself in those pressure and then actually executing those things. Because the truth is, you still have doubt. No one knows. Like, I don't know about when Federer first won Wimbledon, like he was happy and going like, and as a spectator, I'm just sitting there going like, of course you won. You're way better. Like kind of, but like these guys don't know they're going to win. They're just human beings. Like they're not as infallible and omnipotent as they seem to be sometimes. They're just men, women, people, with vulnerabilities, learn how to love the battle. And you leave it all out there, and you might win and you might lose, but there's still winning and losing and winning and losing. You can lose and have done the best you've ever done and blah blah blah, and you can win and nothing may have happened. You may not have improved or gotten better. You just maybe had weak opponents. Maybe somebody was injured. Maybe any number of things. So it can all pan out so many ways. The real thing is to be on that personal journey of becoming the best that you can and doing the best that you can in your immediate area, and then and do it for more people than that as it allows. If you want to do it for your community, if you want to do it for your race, if you want to do it for, that's really what it comes down to. You want to be the best version of yourself so you can help other people be the best they can be. If the world was helping each other be the best they could be, I think it would help us all out.
I agree. Yeah, touching back on the kind of those doubts and stuff you have during this process, I think it's an important thing that we look at. Like, how do you know that you've won that inner battle, right? And for me, it was that process of, I was actually looking for a team sport, right? And so I went to college super excited to, be a part of a team and play tennis, which, those two don't really go together.
No,
so it was super cool for me. And, going through that injury and that process of, holy crap, now how do I help this team? And then these doubts of, is this it for tennis for me? Because I feel like I just got it started. And also, I had just come off of that high of, I had won state, it was the best feeling ever. I was playing the best tennis that I feel like I had ever played. And then I go and I'm feeling good in college and, I'm competing. And then that happens. And the thing that affected me most was not, being able to help the team in ways that I felt I could have, if I was playing, which is really in tennis, like if college tennis, that there's not much you can do, right, as a person on the sideline. There's only so much you can give your support and stuff, but that only goes so far. The real support is you being there playing. So that was also a huge, factor for me that kind of got my motor going. I feel like is I enjoyed being in college and around a really good group of guys and teammates, but I also still wanted that drive, and it kind of flipped a switch to, I'd go and work out or do what I could. I'd read these books and try to work on my mentality, which I think is kind of what switched my whole mindset. But I think there's this idea that the battle will be over, and I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like it's always a daily thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll never truly just, you know, be over to where, you know, I won that internal battle. Yeah, you won that one, but you know, there's probably going to be another one next week. You know,
Correct,
something
that
like
is.
that.
The love, that's the thing you have to plan on. Like, kind of, no one's ever, we're living in a world where it's like, over the horizon where the rainbows are, there's no problems.
Yeah.
Like, no, there are. It continues to be a new problem. Like, you know, you're just a youngster, but like your body, like these 75,000 hour joints, you know, are they're frequently not happy.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a time when like maybe your competitive days will be over. That, you know, these are all things that are going to come up eventually for you. So I can tell you, like, that's not a fun experience.
Yeah.
Like when you the definition of the best doesn't only change. It maybe that was your best is in the past sort of thing, and you have to deal with that. So talk about like you know, getting older is not for the weak. Sort of thing. I mean, and you gotta wanna fight. You gotta wanna live. You know, like it's, you know, I mean, I'm getting older. My parents are getting older. Like, you know, you're looking at people like they're making choices about living or not. Like, and it's a surprising reality. Like, there's a time when you look in people's eyes and maybe they've kind of had enough. You know, they're hurting. I mean, different things. So.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta choose. You have to choose this. You know, like it has to become, because there's many things. You know, when you wake up in the morning, it's you're not always bouncing out of the bed.
Yeah.
You're not always looking forward to carpe diem. You know, is not always the immediate response.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So the reality that we all deal with is what we're perfecting, sort of like day in, day out.
Yeah. And, you know, like the other day we talked about looking at the most positive outcome. I know that's such a basic concept of, you know, finding the good in a situation. But, yeah, I think looking at it like, oh, well, I can do good. And, you know, you choose the things that you can control and the things you can't. And then those things that you can control, getting, you know, really good at those and winning those little battles, even if you can't, you know, win the main situation that's in your face.
Right.
Yeah.
Confidence is what's left over when you remove self-doubt.
Yeah.
Preparation is what kind of creates that cache of self-reliance and self-worth and you know, this self-love. Like, you know, let's face it, like the relationship with yourself is your longest, most enduring relationship. So you want to make sure you're like how much do we love ourselves? You know, that you have to cultivate that. And you know, it's easy to be living in other ways, and we live in a world that is attacking us, sort of thing, with information and opinions, and you know, to sell us products and etc. Like, you have to make sure to kind of like, you know, be sending yourself and receiving chosen things more than being manipulated by all the information. It's really, there's a lot of not doing things, and a lot of you know, not scrolling, and a lot of staying in your rules. Because if you're trying to do everything, you can't do great. You know, it ends up being you whittle it down, and it's scary to whittle things down. You're like, do I really, you know, am I going to play? And sometimes you don't make the choice. Like, kind of say I'm playing the oboe, and that's not my instrument, but here I've spent all this time. Like, you know, there's a real, like, lots of people do lots of things for a long time before they realize, like, what am I doing this for? Or why? You know, like, if you're fortunate enough to find something that you truly love and you prosper at, it's awesome. But don't be afraid to try something else, or work a new way, or, you know, keep challenging yourself and expanding your abilities by challenging yourself. Like
Yeah.
you can't just be idle and expect to grow.
Definitely. So something that's really powerful about your journey and everything is that it's not just coaching and creating Love the Battle. You started the Serving Love Foundation, which brings tennis and pickleball to Native American communities. So just tell me about that and what made you start that.
Well, as you get older and you're looking for a real purpose and something to do, like I felt less of a pull to focus on winning and more of a pull to for health and wellness and embodying and developing that in my own race with Native Americans. I'm a Cherokee, and my grandpa's a full-blood Cherokee Nation that survived the Trail of Tears in Oklahoma. My grandmother is descended from those who stayed and hid in the mountains in North Carolina. It's a really cool story of Native Americans and the Cherokee Indians, and I am one of the best Native American tennis players ever. I'm in the Native American Athletic Hall of Fame kind of thing. And upon traveling around and doing that stuff and seeing different things, it's the race in the U.S. with the worst health numbers by far, sort of thing. So, there's a real need for health and wellness in Native country, but, it's tough even for a Native to work in Native country. And with Natives being such fans of basketball, and we've seen those, it's literally true. Like the whole town comes with game, like it's big, and but I don't know about you, but Native Americans are short, or they're not the tallest, sort of thing. So we're in a sport that we're good at and we love, and the whole community's behind it, and we can play it. It's easy, but I'm seeing tennis and partly tennis, but partly pickleball because it's so accessible and you can get better at it fast. I'm seeing there's a lot of good Native American athletes, and they're playing good ball, but they're playing res ball. They're playing run and gun and fast, and I really believe that pickleball is a sport where you can play. Your grandson can play with your grandma, and it can be a real community sport. Like natives live in the communities. They play softball, they play baseball. They do these things already. But pickleball, with its up-and-comingness and with Native American gambling, and it really seems like it can turn into a internal and external proactive healthcare plan with a game that can end up adding to the community and the casino business by creating competitions, maybe where Indian tribes compete against each other in pickleball, and it really seems like it can grow, but also on the lower, through the PE programs and in the communities, and you can put 4 pickleball courts on an indoor basketball court easy, sort of thing, and really, you can create that. I just really believe in bringing a new sport to natives will work eventually, but it's hard to get in. It's hard to do new things in Native country in that way. Mm-hmm. But if it can get going, if it can happen and be successful, like it will, at one place, Indians are also, they like to be better than each other. Mm-hmm. They're competitive, sort of thing, and so I just really believe that as a community sport. And adding in these concepts of loving the battle, of becoming your best, and creating those community reminders through sport, sort of thing. I mean, I don't know if I would have gotten my college education without tennis. I mean, tennis was my excuse to go to college. Really, I wasn't desiring to go to college. I was desiring to play tennis. Yeah. But I ended up, getting the benefit of a college education whilst playing tennis, sort of thing. And I just really believe in the combination of athletics and education and becoming the best and using all those avenues to build yourself into your best. You know, I think a lot of kids and a lot of people aren't really taking those opportunities like they should, and there may not be any opportunities, sort of thing. So just looking to create more opportunities through the Serving Love Foundation. We've seen over 1,000 kids. We've seen 300 natives, but we've done a lot of programs with YMCAs and Girls and Boys Clubs and in the schools. So, you know, looking forward to continuing to raise enough money to make things happen with the Serving Love Foundation.
Perfect. So this was really good. I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface, to be honest. And for anyone listening, we're going to kind of keep running this podcast, and it's going to be, you know, about all these different processes, you know, struggling and victories and the mindset kind of behind all that. So, you know, whether you're an athlete, a parent, a coach, you know, whatever you're doing in life, if you're just trying to grow, this is, you know, a perfect place for you to kind of come and listen to. So, yeah.
Yeah, and remember, it's not about the perfection. It's about the showing up every day and building the consistency. You know, a relentless sort of consistency and discipline to accomplish your task. And you know, make sure you start with breathing, and then add more water, and then rest, and start with these little wins. You know, like the making your bed thing is for a win sort of thing. So you just start out the morning with a win and plans, and you keep building upon that, and kind of that's how you eat every day. You take care of the details and keep getting 1% better, and those things really work. I mean, it seems like a little ridiculous at first, but you know, if you you can build yourself into the best version of yourself, and you want to just love the battle doing that.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Keep loving the battle. Thanks for joining us.
Love the battle.